Welcome back, everyone. Back with another video. Today we're talking about the Toledo Rockets. Jason Candle comes in with it's a big year for him. You're looking at a team that hasn't been the same since Matt Campbell left, and Jason Candle has been the guy in charge and needs to take a step forward. If you think about it, what they are capable of doing, the talent that they have on this roster. This year could be the year, even when they do lose a couple of big time players, but this is a team full of talent that needs to get back to competing for MAC championships and could have implications on whether or not Candle is the guy long term. Starting at number one, Jamal Hines, 88 tackles last year, 15 tackles for loss, 9.5 sacks, 8 passes defended. The guy just simply knows how to get to the football. He knows how to make an impact. And when you're talking Toledo Rockets football, this is one of the guys that you're talking about for the last couple years. He gets one final year to make an impact. And when you look at what Toledo's been able to do, it's been kind of the defense stepping up and carrying the team. When you look at the talent on the offensive side of the ball, it's kind of hard to believe, but at the same time, you look at the talent they've had on the defensive side of the ball, and it's kind of easy to see why this team has been a defensive-led team. Now, if the offense can take a step forward, help guys like Hines out by putting more points up at the board, which I believe that they can do this year, this is going to be a fun team, one that can compete for a MAC championship. Hines' partner, Jajuan Johnson, is going to be a guy who gets maybe less attention because Hines is doing what he does, but this is one of the best tandems in college football at defensive end. 70 tackles for loss, 12 and a half 70 tackles, 12 and a half tackles for loss, 4.5 sacks. That's insane for two people. 27 and a half tackles for loss, 14 sacks. Both of them know how to get to the football, and you can't double two guys because that just leaves so much more open for the guys behind them. And while the linebackers do need a little bit of help and some of the secondary needs to be rebuilt and retooled, it's still, you just can't take that away. You can't just take those two guys away and just bet on everybody else to play shorthanded. This defense is going to be fun because really the edges are set. And if you're a team trying to stretch the field horizontally, it's probably not going to work because Hines and Johnson are going to be manning those edges. You're going to have to block them. You're going to have to reach them, and you're going to have to keep them away from the ball carrier. And as we've seen over the last couple of years, that's easier said than done. Nate Bauer is one of the safeties that it feels like there's been 5 or 6 safeties that have been really exciting to watch for Toledo, and all have had various different potentials. Bauer is an all MAC selection from last year. 55 tackles, 6.5 tackles for loss, 1.5 sacks. Just did a little bit of everything. One interception for this defense, and that's someone you can utilize all over the field. Someone who's going to, like I said, just give you versatility in what you're calling, in your schemes, and you'll be able to use him all over the field. With teams focusing on Hines and Johnson, guys like Bauer can kind of capitalize on that because if the quarterback has less time to throw, they might take maybe a risk, and that puts him in a better position to make a play or give the ball back to their offense. Devin Maddox takes on an even bigger role this year, not just because he had a full year of experience under his belt, but because Matt Landers has entered the transfer portal. Now, as of the time of this video, Landers could come back technically, but it doesn't sound like he is. It sounds like he's going back to the SEC after transferring from there to Toledo. It sounds like he's going to go back there, but we will see where he ends up. That means big things for Maddox, who is the leading receiver coming back from last year. 41 catches, 561 yards, and 4 touchdowns in his 2021 campaign. With Landers gone, he takes an even bigger step forward in terms of being a leader in this group. This is a relatively inexperienced group and one that really needs to take a step forward with the production that does return. Like I said, a guy like Maddox, 567 yards is a solid year, but you can't have that as your top receiver. You have to do a little bit better, and a guy like Maddox is going to get more chances to be that go-to guy for the quarterback that he works with. And the offense, if they're able to move the ball via the pass a little bit better, then the running game doesn't have as much stress as it did last year. Safety Maxon Hook, another safety. Like I said, there were a bunch of safeties over the last couple of years, and Hook and Bauer are going to be one of the best tandems in the MAC this year. Hook had 96 tackles last year, which implies that they use him quite a bit in what they're doing. Also, could imply that you're giving up a lot of big plays that you're requiring your safeties to help. Regardless, you probably like to see him maybe or between that 50 and 60 tackle range. It makes you more comfortable. Even if you utilize him near the line of scrimmage, you're talking about limiting how many hits he has to provide. You're getting a lot more production from the first line of defense, and then you really your front seven, if you will. A guy like Hook is capable of making these plays, but like I said, it'd be better if he is not taking as many hits. You're gonna thank yourself in the long run. And if this offense, like I said, could take a step forward, maybe the defense doesn't have to see as many plays. Number 6 is Daquan Finn, probably the biggest X factor in the MAC. I think that you're looking at when Brian Koback decided to go to the NFL, that left a huge hole in terms of the rushing attack and this offense. That's a ton of production, multi-year production, and now Daquan Finn has more pressure on his shoulders, more weight on his shoulders. I think he can handle it. We saw some of those flashes last year to the tune of, over 2,000 yards passing. He did throw 18 touchdowns, and one thing that you can really credit him with, he took care of the football. Only 2 interceptions. You can't really get much better than that. And really, you could say that maybe they're trying to limit what he can do, but you don't. It's kind of like Jaden Daniels in a way, because when you look at what Jaden Daniels did 2 years ago with 19 touchdowns and 2 interceptions, you thought, oh, there's potential there. It's the same thing with Finn. Now, Jaden Daniels is a different conversation, but it's kind of that same topic. You're looking at also a dual threat, 502 yards, 4.5 yards per carry, and 9 touchdowns. If Daquan Finn takes a step forward as a passer, he's probably going to throw more interceptions if he throws more, but that makes him even more dangerous. That makes his legs even more dangerous. And this offense really could use that, especially with the amount of talent that they lose in terms of starting production. Nick Rosier is coming back at offensive tackle. That's huge for Daquan Finn because you're looking at someone who's going to protect their quarterback. You're going to give him familiarity in terms of how much time he's going to have to throw, and that's going to help your quarterback's development. All conference type talent, that also helps. Like, it's just, you can't really talk how good it is to have a returning tackle like that. Linebacker Diandra Johnson is going to have to step up this year, even though he did have 88 tackles, 8 tackles for loss last year. The front line, the first level, is going to be probably elite. I think this is going to be one of the best units in college football is the Toledo defensive line. With linebackers losing some good experience, Johnson has to step up and be that guy that's going to, the defensive line is going to open things up for them or make the play. It just comes down to whether or not he can make the play because, like I mentioned before, you don't want your safeties taking too many hits or making too many plays, and that goes on the linebackers to help clean anything up before it gets too dangerous or becomes a third level concern. Running back Penny Boone, and really if you want to add Micah Kelly in, these two are going to be tasked with replacing Brian Koback, and that's not going to be easy. It's probably going to be by committee. Boone's a former 4-star transfer from Maryland. Micah Kelly gets a chance to elevate his production from last year, 314 yards rushing, 5.3 yards per carry, which is pretty good, and then 3 touchdowns. If they want to replace Koback, it's not just going to be with one guy. You just can't do that, and these two get a chance to keep that running game going, keep that rushing attack as good as it's been if they can do that, and that will open things up for the passing attack as well.